Jammu and Kashmir. Farooq Abdullah, who is in fact contesting the upcoming Srinagar bypoll, is in fact speaking to.
फिरका परस्ती इतनी बढ़ जाएगी कि फिर इसको बचा नहीं सकते। आज आपकी लड़ाई फिरका परस्ती के खिलाफ है। आज ये नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस, पीडीपी और ये सबकी लड़ाई नहीं है। पीडीपी ने तो उनके साथ हाथ मिला लिया है। मुफ्ती साहब ने वोट लिए लोगों से, 28 सीटें उनको मिली इस बिना पे कि हम बीजेपी को पार रखेंगे। और अल्लाह का करना देखिए, जब इलेक्शन के नतीजे आए आपने हमें ठुकरा दिया। आपने कहा नहीं, किसी का बेटा नहीं लगा, किसी की बेटी नहीं लगी, किसी का ये काम नहीं हुआ। उस वक्त आपने ये नहीं देखा कि वतन किधर को जाएगा। जैसे मेरे वालिद ने आपसे 52 में कहा था, बुजुर्ग जानते होंगे कि आलू खाओ मगर अपने नफ्स पे कंट्रोल करो, खुदा न खास्ता वो तूफान आएगा फिर उसका मुकाबला नहीं करोगे। लोगों ने कहा बत बाबा यार ऐसे मुख्तसर बात क्यों छू। सारे हिंदुस्तान में 1 रुपए का किलो चावल मिलता था, यहां 4 आने में होता था। महबूबा जी पहुंच जाती थी वो सब्ज लगा के और उधर रोती थी, आई मौजोई अतः से कोई नुकसान, तुमका ये हो गया, तुमका उधर का हो गया, इधर का हो गया। मुझसे ये आज लिखा मरा हमसु तो क्या वादने का सान जरा वजू में क्या का सान दपान ये क्या टाकी खाने गए थे वहां। यह आलू होता है मुन्नावेन हम नहीं करेंगे, बीजेपी को बाहर रखेंगे। और फिर जब वक्त आया, जबकि उमर साहब ने हमारे पास 15 थे, कहा हमें कोई हुकूमत नहीं चाहिए, आपसे कोई मिनिस्टर नहीं चाहिए, उनको बाहर रखने के लिए हम आपको साथ देते हैं। 18 तो 15 कर्ज गई, 17 जी क्या, अच्छा 18 तो 15, अच्छा बात कांग्रेस से बा अरवंजा तो बस अरवंजा है कब हुकूमत बनाई इनको बाहर रख सकते हैं। नहीं माना। आज क्यों सानन शानन पे सवाल आज सुबह दफ्तर से खून में चपे Zögnik MLC'ti. Je moet niet zeggen. Je woord zijn is garasmans. आज तू होश करो। ये आपने फारूक अब्दुल्ला को वोट नहीं देना है, ये आपने अपने तशक्कुस को वोट देना है कि तुम कश्मीरी रहोगे और तुम्हारा दीन चलेगा या नहीं चलेगा, या तुम पे भी वही अजाब आएगा जो बाकी जगहों पे आ रहा है। मुझे अफसोस से ये कहना पड़ता है, मुझे रोना आया जब आजाद साहब ने मुझे ये सुनाया और सबको सुनाया। बड़गाम में सारे हिंदुस्तान में एक रिवाज है, वहां मेले लगते हैं गांव में जहां मवेशी बेचे जाते हैं। बहुत हफ्ते में पकड़ के इन्हीं फिरका परस्तों ने उन बच्चों को दरख्त पे लटका के फांसी दे दी। क्या कल कोशिश करा, खबरदार है, डरना नहीं। ये तुम्हारा हक है, जो तुम्हारे सामने ये वोट है, ये उन लोगों की कुर्बानियां हैं जिन्होंने खून दिया इस वोट के लिए। पाकिस्तान के साथ इनकी बातचीत शुरू होनी चाहिए, क्योंकि तब तक कोई फैसला नहीं होगा जब तक उस मुल्क के साथ भी फैसला किया जाएगा। हम कितने फैसले यहां करें, उनका कोई असर नहीं रहेगा जब तक वो वतन भी साथ नहीं होगा। कोई तरीका है, इसलिए मैं आपसे गुजारिश करता हूं, जितनी ये जमातें हैं यहां पे, उनसे भी कहिए कि अब वक्त आ गया है, yim alag yim kay mushid khada karmacho yim kay to bant akoy mushid kay to khada yak bang saka ban yim kiswat batla कानून पे इंशाअल्लाह करम फारूक अब्दुल्ला का जिंदगी दिन अल्लाह वो करना होगी और उसके साथ साथ हम सारी जमातें दिल्ली में मैं आज आपसे कहता हूं सब जो जमातें फिरका परस्त ताकतों से लड़ रही हैं.
All right, former Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Farooq Abdullah, stirring yet another controversy. Remember, he is contesting the upcoming Srinagar Lok Sabha by-poll, and while addressing a rally earlier today, he said that he wants to convey to the Modi government that those who pelt stones in Kashmir or take up arms have nothing to do with tourism. These people are fighting for their country. Let's now quickly get some reactions to those rather controversial remarks. We're joined on the phone line by Colonel Danveer Singh and former Foreign Secretary Mr. Shashank. All right, Colonel Singh, if I could come to you first, how would you react to what Dr. Farooq Abdullah has said there in his election rally? He seems to have stirred quite a controversy.
It's very ironic that this man, whom I would say that he is the man because of which the insurgency in Jammu and Kashmir started way back in 1989. It was this man who fed Rajiv Gandhi with all sort of scary stories, and he rigged the election. It was the rigging of the elections, institutionalized rigging of the elections that led masses across the line of control to fetch guns, and it was exploited by our neighbor Pakistan. The Muslim United Front had won hands down those elections. Otherwise, the popular sentiment was with the Muslim United Front. Now, it is that Muslim United Front which is now the Hurriyat and other parties. Had they come into the power and had they taken oath as per the Indian Constitution, story would have been different. But he was the man who created that story, and he created that narrative wherein the insurgency in the valley started at first place. And today he's preaching those youngsters.
Right.
So he is a very dubious character. He has to be guarded. We have to keep ourselves guarded from. And it is very sad. It is very sad that whatever he's saying is saying. And
right.
Change colors when they come into power. We all know that.
Right. And of course, this was an election rally for the upcoming by-polls that are scheduled to take place on the 9th of April. Some very, very controversial remarks being made there by the former Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, who also, in fact, has been Union Minister in the past. Thanks very much, Colonel Singh, for joining us with your comments. Mr. Shashank, if I could come across to you now, I'd like you to react to at least two controversial things that Dr. Farooq Abdullah seems to have said in that election rally. One, he says those who pelt stones or take up arms in the Kashmir Valley have nothing to do with tourism. They're actually fighting for their nation. He also said that if India and Pakistan cannot resolve their issues, then the US should come forward and facilitate as third party to resolve issues between the two countries. So we know that this is completely contrary to the stand that India has always taken, that we cannot accept any kind of third party intervention, and perhaps taking note of India's stand and even the snub that they received yesterday, America seems to have now done a course correction today. So, but your reaction to Dr. Farooq Abdullah's remarks?
Well, I would say that this is really an election rally speech, and this is a part of our democratic process that especially during the elections, statements are made, which are seen as a kind of a long-term, very long-term kind of visionary statements, but have no practical significance. But they do tend to mislead the young people and the constituents in order to think that these are the people on whom they can rely and vote for them. Anyway, that is one. The country has to take a decision on the basis of its past commitments to a bilateral process with Pakistan, which has been affirmed and reaffirmed repeatedly. And therefore, for anybody else to come across and say that, no, there must be some intervention here and there, that does not make any sense and would not be acceptable should not be acceptable even to Pakistan.
Right, sir. Not only is this a complete contradiction of the stand that India has always taken, but Dr. Farooq Abdullah's critics would say that he is speaking the language of Pakistan, because we know it's Pakistan who's always sought to internationalize the Kashmir issue, while India's stand has been that there is no room for a third party. This is an issue meant to be resolved between the two sides, something that the US has also eventually learnt to respect. But when Dr. Farooq Abdullah takes a line such as this and says, let America come forward and intervene since India and Pakistan have failed to resolve the issue, many would say, is he speaking for Pakistan? That's what his critics have often accused him of.
The point is that I have lived in Pakistan for some time, and there I always found that Pakistan would lionize the leaders of Kashmir at one stage and would berate them at other stages. So therefore, this equivocation helps leaders in Kashmir, including Farooq Abdullah, to get a constituency in Pakistan for themselves, that they have a role to play. So I think we should just take it from the point of view that this is an election speech. Should not make much sense. If they want to continue with this kind of an approach, then I'm quite sure the government of India will have to take adequate measures.
Right, and we'll have to wait and see how the government of India reacts to this. But thanks very much, sir, for joining us with your perspective on this story. Let's now also go across to my colleague Madhav Das Gopalakrishnan, who's tracking these developments for us. Madhav, Dr. Farooq Abdullah, no stranger to controversy, has triggered yet another controversy today. Mr. Shashank there seems to suggest that, perhaps not much should be read into these comments, given that it is an election speech and our politicians tend to indulge in all sorts of political rhetoric at the time of elections, even if irresponsible at some points. But the question really is, how is the Indian government going to react? Clearly, this is going to ruffle a lot of feathers, the stand that Dr. Farooq Abdullah has taken on both these issues.
Undoubtedly, the fact is that one at least hopes that what the former Foreign Secretary has said is in fact the truth. But the fact is this, that we've seen this in the past also, the dangerous trend that opposition parties, particularly those in the Kashmir Valley, and whichever party may be in opposition, in an attempt to get cheap popularity, indulging in this kind of separatist sort of statements, only to try and rabble-rouse and try and ensure that they get their support, particularly in poll season. And what is extremely shocking is that this is a person who has not been the chief minister once, not twice, but several times over. His son has been the chief minister. His party has been in power for decades in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, has been a central minister here in the union cabinet times over. And it's a person like this who is making this sort of an extremely provocative statement, supporting and directly going against the stand of the government of India vis-a-vis Pakistan, not just encouraging, a third-party negotiation, but also, encouraging the role as far as separatists and particularly stone pelters are concerned. That's the sort of language that Farooq Abdullah is speaking. We've seen this happen in the past as well, and it's not just irresponsible, it is something that is downright, many would say, for a person who has, enjoyed being in power here at the center, it is absolutely despicable that a person like this should make these sort of statements which are directly in contravention of the stated position of government of India. And that's why, in fact, this statement is so extremely and very controversial. It is bound to evoke some very sharp reactions here in the national capital, because certainly this is not what is expected from someone who has represented governments in both the state as well as here at the center.
Right, extremely controversial stand taken there by Dr. Farooq Abdullah. As you mentioned, he's not just a three-time chief minister of Jammu and Kashmir, but also somebody who's been a part of the union cabinet. And while Dr. Abdullah, of course, is entitled to his political opinion, but when he lashes out at the Modi government, accusing them of being communal and saying that this electoral fight is really all about communalism versus secularism, perhaps what Dr. Abdullah conveniently forgets is that he has been a union minister as part of the NDA government in the past, which of course was led by a BJP Prime Minister in Atal Bihari Hari Vajpayee. All right, let's now go across to my colleague Arish Bilal, who joins us live from Srinagar for more on that story. Arish, Dr. Farooq Abdullah, stirring quite a controversy there. Of course, not the first time that he's made controversial remarks. This is, of course, being seen in the context of the upcoming Lok Sabha bypolls in Srinagar, which he is contesting. But given that this is such a sensitive time in Kashmir, with all the unrest and stone pelting and violent protests that we've seen, and given that India-Pakistan relations are also at a low point, many are criticizing Dr. Farooq Abdullah for his remarks, saying that this is a very irresponsible stand taken by a man who's not just a seasoned politician, but somebody who's been, former chief minister as well as union minister in the past.
Well, that's absolutely right. In fact, the Farooq Abdullah has made similar statements in the past as well, and this time he has gone a step ahead, saying that the stone pelters are nationalist and they are fighting for their nation. And in fact, we will have to look into it in the background of the recent statement made by the Prime Minister when he was in Jammu. And there in his speech, he did made a reference to stone pelting, saying that the youth of Kashmir will have to decide between terrorism and tourism. So the Farooq Abdullah statement, which he has made in Sonewar constituency today, should be looked into this backdrop, wherein he has said that the youth who are taking to stone pelting, they are not fighting for tourism, but definitely for nationalism. So this has to be looked into also in the backdrop that whenever these political parties, the mainstream political parties are in opposition, they take to soft separatism to garner support for themselves. And remember, Farooq Abdullah is looking into contesting the elections for the parliamentary seat of Srinagar, and he definitely trying to come back to the parliament. So definitely this is a move to garner support for himself, because right now both the PDP and the National Conference are trying to garner support by taking to the soft separatism and hijack the stand that often is taken by the separatists in Kashmir Valley.
The other thing here that perhaps we need to consider, Arish, as you mentioned there rightly, that often when elections are around the corner, politicians like Dr. Farooq Abdullah tend to take these controversial lines, perhaps also resort to peddling soft separatism in the hope to garner support in the valley. Of course, we also heard former Foreign Secretary Mr. Shashank also saying that perhaps leaders like Dr. Farooq Abdullah are also, in a sense, trying to appeal to Pakistan and hoping to build a constituency for themselves there. But the question is, are politicians then not losing their credibility, because they seem to say one thing when they're in power and quite another when they're in the opposition, as you pointed out, Arish? We'll come back to you in just a moment, but we are continuing to get more reactions to this controversy that has been stirred by Dr. Farooq Abdullah. All right, I'm told that we can now go across to General Shankar Roy Chaudhary, former army chief, who now joins us on the phone line for a reaction to this. Sir, if you can hear me, I don't know if you're aware of what exactly Dr. Farooq Abdullah has said. He was addressing an election rally and he said that those who pelt stones in the Kashmir Valley or take up arms have nothing to do with tourism, a reference to Prime Minister Modi's speech, and says that these are people who are nationalists and fighting for the country. So how would you react to what Dr. Farooq Abdullah has said today while addressing his constituents in Srinagar?
Well, General, Mr. Farooq Abdullah, Dr. Farooq Abdullah, is a very clever man. He talks nonsense when nonsense is required. So he is talking nonsense. And why he is talking nonsense on such an obviously silly issue, I do not know. But he's got his own political plans. So he has often talks nonsense. He's talking nonsense now. And of course, this will not work. India will sort out its own problems. There are no third parties required. And whatever is to be settled will be settled under the Constitution of India and not any third parties. Dr. Abdullah should understand that.
Right, clearly no room for any third-party intervention. That's the stand India has always taken. And in fact, less than 24 hours after Nikki Haley made that controversial statement yesterday, sir, America seems to have course-corrected. And now they're saying this is really an issue that is to be resolved by the two parties. So clearly that is a stand that even the international community respects. Why would Dr. Farooq Abdullah not respect the stand taken by India on this is a question that he needs to be asked. Also, sir, if I may ask you, we were talking to Mr. Shashank, former Foreign Secretary earlier, who said that, often politicians make irresponsible statements, indulge in political rhetoric at the time of elections, something we should perhaps not take very seriously. Also, this is perhaps an attempt on their part to appeal to certain sections or certain constituencies in Pakistan. Would you view it that way as well, sir?
Yes, politicians always try to extract maximum benefit from any situation. And Dr. Farooq Abdullah making such a statement obviously knows he's talking rubbish. But then being a politician, maybe he'll get half a vote more. That's his business. But certainly this is absolutely nonsense that it should be referred to a third party and all these things.
So final question before we let you go. Of course, his critics would say that he is speaking the language of Pakistan. He seems to have turned into an apologist for Pakistan and is trying to justify something that's indefensible. But, sir, would you also say that when politicians like Dr. Farooq Abdullah, who's not just been a three-time Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, but also a union minister at the center as part of the India government, when politicians like that speak such language, they're in a sense playing into Pakistan's hand?
Look, Dr. Farooq Abdullah is a loyal Indian. I've known him for a very, very, very long time. And it is sad to see him being driven to take up these public postures, which in private he himself doesn't agree with.
All right.
In private, he himself doesn't agree with. But he's taking up these postures because he wants to make a political bid for some comeback or the other.
Right.
But he knows that he's talking nonsense. This is not what he normally talks.
Right.
And I do wish he would not make these statements. They make him sound very, ridiculous. And I don't want that to happen. He's a good person.
Right. Election rhetoric or not, but aren't these statements irresponsible? That is what Dr. Farooq Abdullah needs to answer. But General Shankar Roy Chaudhary, thanks very much for speaking to us. I'm told we can also go across to Suhail Bukhari of the PDP media advisor to the Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister, who now joins us on the phone line. Mr. Bukhari, your first reaction to what Dr. Farooq Abdullah has said. Not only has he, defended the stone pelters, calling them nationalists, but also been very, very strongly critical of the PDP, saying that your party is responsible for giving the BJP a foothold in Jammu and Kashmir, and that the upcoming bypolls are actually a contest between the communalists and the secularists.
Well, such a language from a political leader of stature of Dr. Farooq Abdullah could only be categorized as highly unfortunate. On the ground, what we are trying to ensure is that peace prevails and political engagement rather than violence ensures that we come together and we contribute our bit in the national building and also get Kashmir Valley, the Jammu and Kashmir, out of the morass that it's been because of the policies of the people in power earlier, which of course for the most of the time has been national conference.
Mr. Bukhari, you make some valid points, but if I may ask you some pointed questions here. Now, many of Dr. Farooq Abdullah's critics would say that he is peddling soft separatism here in the hope to garner some votes. How would you view it? Do you agree with that assessment?
Well, we only have one stated position that there are issues internally. There is issue of trust. There is issue of engagement, particularly vis-a-vis our youngsters. However, violence cannot be glorified as a way forward. What we are seeking is political engagement through non-violent means to ensure that whatever issues there are resolved democratically through political means and positive
All right. Now, that is a well-known stated position of the PDP, and I don't think anybody has a quarrel with that. But, Mr. Bukhari, before we let you go, if I could ask you to react very specifically to the charges that Dr. Abdullah has leveled against your party and your Chief Minister, accusing you of siding with quote-unquote communal forces, saying this is a fight between communal and secular forces, and that your party is guilty of giving a foothold to communal forces like the BJP in Jammu and Kashmir. How would you react to that specific charge, Mr. Bukhari?
Well, I would only say one thing, that somebody who's invoking religion for politics the way he is right now should in itself be a reflection of who's playing criminal and who's trying to divide people on the basis of religion. What we have done is try to bring the two regions of Jammu and Kashmir, that is Jammu and Kashmir, together for the first time in the recent history because of the kind of mandate that was given by the restrictive electorate.
Right.
And therefore, honoring that mandate, this coalition came together in order to ensure that peace, prosperity and development comes to Jammu and Kashmir. Now, if Dr. Farooq Abdullah is raising and using religion to discriminate and raise passion,
all right,
I don't have to say who is coming.
All right, Mr. Bukhari, we leave it at that. Thanks very much for joining us with your reaction to the controversy that has been stirred by Dr. Farooq.